All right, now.
Yes.
Hello everybody. My name is George Robinson. I'm the district athletic director for the Alamance Burlington School System, and I want to talk to you today just a little bit about NCAA initial eligibility. I would assume that most of you are aspiring to play college athletics, so we're going to talk about the process just for a few moments. And if you have any questions, just please enter those into the chat box and I'll do my absolute best to try to answer those. So I'm getting a lot of pop-ups, just bear with me. So just wanted to talk about the initial eligibility. For NCAA purposes, you would have to register with the clearinghouse, and this document will through exactly what it is to kind of give you your pathway for your high school experience. Some of you guys might already be somewhat through the process, so I'm just going to kind of talk you through it just a little bit. So for Division I purposes, for initial eligibility, the criteria is such that you're going to have 16 core classes that you're going to be judged on, in addition to a test score, be it ACT or SAT. The good part about it, and I'm not sure how many of you are in the 2022 class, will be enrolling in 2021-22. There will be no test score requirement, and that's part of a COVID outreach or COVID modification that the NCAA made. And there are a few others, but that's the biggie. So there will be no test score requirement if you're graduating and entering college in the 2021-2022 school year. But for all other people, the criteria is such below. If you're aspiring to be a Division I athlete, you're going to have to pass 4 Englishes, 3 maths, 2 sciences, an additional class, 2 social sciences, which would end up being like a history or something to that effect. And then there are additional courses that would count towards initial eligibility. Most folks end up taking foreign languages like a Spanish or French or something along those lines, but you can substitute other courses. The neat part about our school system is we have an NCAA approved course list that your counselor will be able to access. So as you are registering for classes the next semester, you need to make sure, if you are an aspiring athlete collegiately, that you're speaking with your counselor and taking the correct courses to make sure that we can have you qualified to participate on the campus the moment you step foot. Division II is somewhat similar, except there are a few modifications in regards to the number of English classes you'll need, math classes, the additional coursework, and it kind of works in conjunction off of Division I, but Division II is not as stringent. Test scores are somewhat similar. GPA is a little bit different in regards to 2.3 for a Division I athlete, prospective athlete, and prospective Division II athlete. It's a 2.2. And the NCAA also works with a sliding scale. So the lower your overall GPA, the higher your test score is going to have to be. Now, I'm going to stop real quick and I'm going to give you my experience as a coach. I coached basketball at Cummins High School for about 15 years, so I got a little experience. That sliding scale and that minimum GPA, throw that out of the window, okay? If you're an inspiring student athlete, let's say, for instance, you want to go, I'm a Duke basketball fan, and I can't see y'all right now. I would hope that there are a few more Duke basketball fans on here, but hey, it is what it is. We're not playing, so we're going to move on. Any student athlete trying to get into any college would probably be best served getting in as a student first. So if you are aspiring to go to Duke or Carolina, your grades are going to have to line up with what they have for somebody just applying to go to school there. So all of these student athletes that we see on these campuses, really good grades. And one of the things that I often say when I do this is, if you're a LeBron James or somebody like that, yeah, that sliding scale might work for you. But if you are an above average athlete, you're going to have above average grades. The sliding scale is for a framework, but if you are aspiring to play Division I or Division II college athletics, you're going to need to be a high achiever academically. Here's a timeline in regards to what that would look like for you in the ninth grade. Obviously, you need to start the planning process. You need to for some people, it starts a little bit earlier. In the eighth grade, you can take that are going to count towards high school credit. So you need to make sure that you're really taking the right courses in middle school that's going to prepare you to take rigorous courses in high school. In the 10th grade, you want to make sure that you are speaking frequently with your counselor. You're talking about the courses that you're taking right now and the courses that you're going to take in the future, and that's going to lead you to a path where you're going to be eligible initially if you are so lucky to get a college scholarship. You also would need to set up a clearinghouse account. They call it the eligibility center or the portal. You would need to establish an account to set up, and that way you are, or the NCAA is able to track your transcript and test scores, and they can determine initial eligibility really quickly once you've established an account. The 11th grade, you need to check with a counselor to make sure that, again, you're taking the right courses. At this time, you also need to be registering for the ACT and the SAT. And folks say, well, how many times should you take it? So I might date myself a little bit. In my day, our score was a 720. Man, if I got a 720, I'm not taking it again. Those days are long past. Okay. So I'll go back to what I said initially. You're going to need to make sure that you're taking courses and have a test score that's going to allow you to get into the school as a student, not just as a student athlete. Okay. You want to make sure that your information is correct with the eligibility center, and you need to make sure at the end of your 11th grade year that you're asking to upload your transcript to the eligibility portal. In the 12th grade, you want to make sure that you've completed all your approved NCAA courses in regards to eligibility. Also, make sure you're going to graduate. Okay. If you need to take the SAT or the ACT again, please do so. There's a code that you can use to make sure that you can enter your scores. You need to request the amateurism certification, and that simply means that you haven't done anything to jeopardize amateur status. You hadn't played in a tournament where you received some funds or a gift that was something that the NCAA would deem unacceptable and would jeopardize your amateurism. Okay. After you graduate, your counselor would need to upload your final transcript, and then the NCAA would go towards determining your initial eligibility. Again, that's kind of a framework. In the 9th grade, and some of you guys will have, obviously, in the 9th grade, you may be taking English too, but that's kind of a framework to make sure that we have you NCAA ready to go once you hit somebody's campus. So that's kind of the meant, and I hope that was kind of painless, but I just wanted to make sure I took you through that process to explain what it is that you're going to need to do. Does anybody have any questions at this time? Okay, cool. Again, here's another document about early qualifiers, and it's basically the same information that I shared with you. They do have a thing that's called a 10-7 rule, and basically the 10-7 rule means if you've completed 10 core classes before your 7th semester, then you can. Now that doesn't mean you're going to be to graduate early. But what that's going to do for you in regards to the NCAA is you can make a determination to let you know where you're going to be eligible. Like if you're a Division I athlete and you meet that 10-7 criteria, then you don't have to worry about sitting out on somebody's campus because you didn't meet the initial eligibility requirement. So Division II is not as stringent, and you can kind of see again what their standards are. Again, it's not as well, I wouldn't say as rigorous. There's just not as much content that you're going to have to be responsible for as opposed to being a Division I athlete. And I think basically in regards to material, that's basically all I got. The last thing that I wanted to say to you before I entertain any kind of questions, and I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. The last thing that I wanted to say is it's an honor to be recruited. And I know a number of student athletes that are enamored with a Division I scholarship. It doesn't matter what type of scholarship you get, as long as somebody's going to help you pay for your college education. So while you might have champagne dreams, you know, you may have a beer budget. And I say that to say this. I tell you, as an athlete, I had champagne wishes. I wanted to play Division I basketball, but I wasn't good enough to play Division I basketball. I had to play Division II athletics, and I was okay with that because at the end of the day, when it was time for me to graduate, I didn't really want to be paying back a whole lot of money. So be thankful about being recruited. Be thankful if somebody's going to put some money or give you some money to go to school. That's a privilege and an honor, and it doesn't matter what division it is. Just be thankful for that. The other thing is, and this last little tidbit that I want to share with you in regards to the recruiting process, be kind to everybody. You could be a Division I athlete in your mind, and you may have the athleticism to play Division I sports, but there's a Division II coach that comes by and he speaks to you and he wants to talk to you and your coach about, you know, you coming to play at that school. We call it big timing. Don't big time somebody in regards to, you know what, that's just tiny Lenore Ryan University, and I know for a fact I'm going to go play at Duke. Well, we don't know. And sometimes you might have to go and cross back over a bridge that you might have torn down. So my advice to you is don't tear down a bridge. You may end up having to go back and cross back over that bridge and reconnect with Lenore Ryan. So you be thankful to everybody. You be appreciative to everybody. You smile at everybody. And the one thing that I would tell my student athletes is until you can sign, you tell everybody, hey, yeah, I'm going to Lenore Ryan. That's where I want to be. And until you sign, that's a binding agreement. So if Duke came along and they said, hey, I got a scholarship and I want you to come to my university, then to God be the glory, go to Duke. But don't get to a point where something's not good enough. If anybody is willing to invest in you as a student athlete and they're willing to share a couple of dollars so you can get a quality education, by all means, make sure you take advantage of that. Last but certainly not least, I know I'm about to run out of time. When you go to a college or a university, they're getting something out of you. They're getting some athleticism. They're getting some blood, sweat, and tears. You as a student athlete, you make sure you get something from them, and that's an education. Okay, so I don't think anybody has any questions, and I think I'm just about out of my time. So if there are no other questions, I appreciate you guys listening to me. I think I got a little dead. Julio, are you?